Welcome to Navigating Advocacy, the true crime podcast that goes beyond storytelling to ignite change and seek justice. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Whitney. As true crime enthusiasts turned passionate advocates, we've seen the power of storytelling raise awareness about unsolved crimes and bring hope to victims and their families. We hope to inspire action and promote positive change within the true crime community.
Our mission is simple. We provide a platform for victims and their families to share their stories, to be heard, and find solidarity. But we don't stop there. We offer practical guidance to our listeners on how they can actively make a difference in their own communities.
Together, we can create a wave of change. We're here to empower you to also become advocates for change, no matter where or who you are. We are Navigating Advocacy.
Hey.
Hello.
How goes it?
Yes, tonight, a very special night. We are with Jason Watts, the PI for, you've been on a few cases now, but mainly starting with Brandon Lawson. That's how we met you. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for putting all this together because I am not technically savvy enough to put all something like this together.
It can be a lot.
It can be. And we honestly, we had to get on here 30 minutes in advance because it's been a minute for us as well. So I didn't even remember where all the buttons were. So it's not just you, it's us as well.
Well, thank you ladies for taking your time. I wanted to do this for a couple of reasons. There's lots of new podcasts and coming out about Brandon's case, and that stuff's all good. Lots of new people are joining Brandon's Facebook page to follow the case, and that stuff's all great. But one thing I have noticed is a lot of these new podcasts and new media outlets, they're putting out some stuff that's just not accurate. And, whenever you got a case, especially a big case like this, it's important to make sure, especially if you're going to have a large community following, to make sure that they have the facts right. And so LaDessa wants the Brandon Lawson community to have as much correct information as possible. And so that's another reason I wanted to do this. And I haven't gotten together with you two, one-on-two or however you want to look at it since we made the discovery 4 years ago. So
it has been, I've seen you a few times, Jason, for Jason Landry's case, but right. You haven't seen Melissa in quite some time.
Not since the memorial, and that happened so fast we didn't get a chance to really sit down and talk. The memorial was back in August.
Yeah,
it feels like a year ago.
It'll be a year before we all know we're all getting old and time just goes by like that. So
it really does.
Just want to make sure everything is.
So we were thinking we can just kind of start off with the 911 call, especially because that is kind of where Whit and I and really all other like true crime enthusiasts started. They hear this 911 call and they're trying to dissect it. It's absolutely intriguing, like unreal. And that's kind of where Brandon's case started for us. We listened to this call, a few podcasts, and then we can kind of go into what happened after that, the searches, and go on. Does that sound good to you, Jason?
Sure.
Okay. So I will play that. Give me 1 second here.
We're just pushing guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. You got to take it to the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
I'm not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
That's the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
No, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, very much a man who sounds like he is terrified.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And the call cuts in and out, and we know because we've been out there, but it is literally the middle of nowhere. There is no cell phone reception. Even now, a decade plus later, there's just absolutely no cell phone service. It cuts in and out. There's vehicles driving by, so there's background noise. Cell phones weren't like they are now as far as just the technology in itself. It's just the way and how many different ways it can be interpreted. It's unreal what is out there in the world. And honestly, we may not ever really know what was said that night, what was truly said and what was truly happening, because Brandon is the only person that's ever going to have that information.
Very true. Very true. Half the world is listening to that call and half the world has their own take on it. They can't all be right. I think you're right. It's going to be one of those things that it's probably going to be forever up to interpretation. People have come and said, I hear gunshots. People have come to me and said, it sounds of the bridge. People have come to me and said, I hear this, I hear that. To me, that call is a very important part of the case. But I think, and you guys will probably agree with this, that call almost overshadowed the case itself. Brandon almost became a footnote in his own disappearance. And like I said, the call is important, but I was never convinced that call was going to be the end all be all that cracked the case. I know a lot of people feel that way, and I understand. But I mean, as you two ladies both know, you were there when the discovery was made. Nothing in that call gave us that property or gave us where we were when we found it.
Absolutely. There was no clues. No, there were no clues at all. Absolutely. And you're right. It's going to be forever interpreted however one wants to interpret it. But moving forward, you just kind of have to focus on what are the next steps that could have happened. Law enforcement came out there. His brother Kyle came out there. They brought gas because he had run out of gas. He didn't want to come out, as we have heard from multiple reports, Kyle specifically, that he didn't want to come out because there was law enforcement there. And there's, back and forth on why. Brandon had a history of not a great relationship with police, and that's okay. That doesn't mean people shouldn't look for him.
Absolutely. Again, like you said earlier, I think the only person that probably ever is going to know that is Brandon.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to talk about how we got involved and then ended up on this very first search that ended up finding Brandon's clothing. So Whitney and I started the podcast around COVID time, and Jason, or the Help Find Brandon Lawson page, was actually the first family page that we decided to reach out to. We knew we wanted to work with families and help any way we could. And so that was the page that, don't ask me how, divine intervention, but that was the page that drew us into it. And Jason responded not too long after that. We ended up meeting up in near Bront, right? That San Angelo. Did we meet in San Angelo?
Yeah, we met in Angelo. It was Stagno's, wasn't it? The coffee shop.
Yeah, the coffee shop.
Yeah, you're actually, in a way, both you two girls are very lucky, because I think that's the first podcast I ever went to Odessa and said, okay, well, I'll meet with them. I turned down just about every other podcast that I was unfamiliar with, and there were quite a few of them that messaged the page, and I would listen to them and I would go, yeah, I don't think these guys are ethical. When I listened to you guys', I don't even remember which episode you sent me. I was like, well, I'm not seeing anything bad. I'll go ahead and go down there and meet with him.
Well, back then it couldn't have been great, because we started real rough, guys. So we've always been open and honest about that. We started real rough, but we got there. And it, like Melissa said, it was divine intervention, but by God, we weren't going to meet a man not in a public place. We know better than that. That's why we picked a coffee shop before just meeting you on the side of a highway.
Hey, no offense taken. And just so you know, that's exactly why Dylan was there, was because I'm not going to go meet with two strange women I don't know.
You were scared of
Safety
us.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
Safety first.
Yeah,
can you
after that-
Can
Oh,
you
go ahead.
imagine going? Can you imagine a husband going to his wife and saying, "All right, I'm going to go meet up with 2 women." What the hell you are?
Yeah. So yeah, that day you took us out there where Brandon's truck ran out of gas, and we stood around, we talked, here's the thing that got me with Brandon's story first off is that everyone always talks about how he went off into the woods. And I was so stuck on the fact that there are no woods in Texas. I am Texas born and raised. There is mesquite trees, there is brush. Where San Angelo is located in the state of Texas is desert terrain. And I could never understand why people kept talking about how he went into the woods because it doesn't make sense. And I can show you the terrain that's out there. There is not woods out there.
Well, that also depends on your interpretation of the woods too. I mean, I know when I think of woods, I think of, like Vermont or New Hampshire where you got these tall trees but I can totally see people here in Texas referring to thick brush and mesquite and all that as the woods. I mean, so it didn't shock me that interpretation comes up.
It's just so different out there. Like, this is it. It's like head high, not much bigger. I mean, I'm from California. We're used to like redwoods. That's your woods.
Yeah. Where
this is just
I know where that is, but I don't know where that was taken.
This is Melissa stuck. And we're super close to each other when we were searching. This is at the beginning of the search when we were doing that first little section. This is how thick and dense it was. We started, fingertip to fingertip, arm lengths apart. But because the thorns and mesquite trees and cacti are so thick out in this area, you cannot walk side by side for very long. There's a lot of diverting your trail, going in and out and around. But I wanted to show how thick this was and took a picture of Melissa because there was so many times where we lost each other and we're like, does anyone have eyes on Melissa? Anyone have eyes on Jason? Where are we? Holler out, because it's just so thick in there.
Yeah. One thing we always try to do is stay in a straight line, but on that out there is no such thing as staying in a straight line. You got a better chance of hitting the right 6 numbers on a Saturday night before you can. That's actually one of the clearer parts of the property.
Yes.
That's
a cakewalk right there. I could do that part of the property
all day. Also, it was like 40 degrees out, windy.
Oh, way colder than that. There was 50-mile-an-hour winds. It was like the coldest day of January.
So we were bundled up. That is for sure.
Yeah. That day was, and so you guys remember I was wearing a GoPro camera and filming the search. There's actually one part I was actually just watching it the other day. I get hot, and I don't know if it's because we're moving around or it's because I got the sun beating down on me, but I don't remember getting cold until after the deputy and the ranger got there and the sun started going down. That's when it got really freaking cold for me. But I was crazy layered up. I don't know what you guys had on, but I had on thermals, 2 pairs of jeans. I had a regular t-shirt on, a work shirt, a hoodie, and a big heavy coat.
Yeah. Well, that's me right there, the second person. There's Amber in front of me with the white hat on, but that's me with a beanie and a hood and a face mask. So I was pretty cold, and I don't do cold well. So it was pretty chilly.
Yeah, even though this was kind of at the tail end of COVID, we're all wearing masks just because the wind is cold on our faces.
Well, I was waiting for my COVID test to come back that day.
Yeah, I didn't find that out until afterwards. Thanks.
By design.
Wearing a mask and staying away because
No, you're good. You're good.
I was about to move. We had to get this in before I left, and I'm so glad we were able to all get down there. I mean, it was 9 of us out there for just one full day.
We talked about how it's like divine intervention, but we didn't mention that our search, this 9-person volunteer search team, went out 1 year to the day that Melissa and I went out there and met Jason the first time. So over the course of a year, we became intertwined with Jason and Brandon's family. We met his mom, his dad, his Ladessa, his kids, and they just became part of our everyday conversation. It was not just like a professional, we had business together. They've kind of become part of our family.
They have very much so. They've kind of adopted all of us into their family, and likewise to this. I mean, I call Ladessa sister whenever we talk. If she texts me, I'll text, hey sis. I don't know how often you guys talk to her, but I probably talk to her at least depending on what's going on, anywhere from once every couple of weeks to once a month. Yeah, I mean, they were already. The Lawson family is already a tight-knit family, and when they adopt you into the group, you're into the group. So yeah, and I just absolutely love that. I know you guys have it.
Yeah, it's just so interesting how the stars aligned. Whatever you may believe, that it was a year to the day that we went out there, and I think we've told our story kind of the day, but we can, for those that haven't heard it, we absolutely can revisit it. We got out there super early in the morning. It was one piece of property that had never been searched before. And that wasn't at any fault to the landowners or to law enforcement or to Jason as the family advocate or even to the family. The people who owned that land didn't even know that Brandon was missing.
I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because that's one point that I really wanted to hammer in this live stream that a lot of the new podcasts are getting wrong, is that they're under the assumption that this property was searched 100 times by hundreds of people, and that's not true at all. This property was never foot searched. No, the sheriff's office did say that they flew over it, and I do believe them when they say that. But as far as people, boots on the ground, searching, that had never happened on that property before until that day we went out there. And not only is that us saying that, I actually have something here for you. This is part of Deputy Neal's report when he turned in the remains that were found to the UNT. And I don't know if you guys can really see. Oh, crap, it's all jacked up.
Yep. No, I can see it. A search of land not searched in 2013 produced a pair of Nike shoes, shorts, and a you covered up something.
I'm covering
on
that
purpose.
Yep. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay. This search was conducted January 15th, 2022 and February 1st, 2022.
Awesome. Now, this part here that I'm covering up, I will reveal that here in a second. There's a reason I'm covering that up. It's because it's another point that I want to make, but we'll get to it here shortly. Mm-hmm. So anyways, continue.
Yeah. So it had never been searched before. We went out there super early in the morning. Again, it was really cold. And this is, again, that divine intervention. All of the stars had aligned. It was the last weekend Melissa lived in Texas. She was moving the following weekend. We were thinking about canceling it because of the weather, but we all just kind of powered through and decided, nope, it's got to be this weekend. We've got to do it. And we didn't realize it was the 1 year mark from when we went out there the first time until after we found Brandon's clothing later that evening, and it kind of all settled in that we were like, oh my gosh, this is exactly a year. But we went out there and it was, we covered a lot of ground fairly quickly, surprisingly. This was mine and Melissa's first search, and Melissa's husband was also with us. We covered a decent chunk of ground early on.
Was it 50 acres, Jason? Was it 50?
Sorry?
Was that plot of land 50 acres?
I think it's 90.
90. Okay.
90 or 100. It's a a reasonably big piece of property. I know one. I'm sure the audience wants to know why the landowners didn't ever stumble across this. It's because they only use that property to hunt. They don't live on it. They're not out there even on a monthly basis. When I first made contact with the landowner in 21, he told me, he goes, man, I haven't even been out there in a couple of years. I'll go out there to hunt deer here and there. My brother will go out there to hunt deer here and there. But other than that, that's the only reason we go down there and hunt. That's it. We kind of go, we hunt, we leave. They don't have any family or close friends on the property. So that's why they never knew about this.
And when you have hunting land, at least in my experience, I'm not a hunter, but I grew up in a small town where that's a very common thing. And so I'm a little versed in it. But when you go out on hunting land, you're not casing the entire property. You usually set up a game camera. You usually have, a deer feeder and a stand, but it's generally in one area. You're not walking the entire property. So the chance of someone being out there hunting and finding these items on their own are pretty slim.
Exactly. And I mean, you guys saw the condition of them. They were heavily deteriorated, consistent with being out there for, at that point, 8.5 years. So, and I mean, if you go out and you walk, a random property in a rural area, you'd be really surprised what you'll come across. I mean, you'll come across all kinds of stuff. And I mean, you're not going to think anything of it. So even if the landowner was out there running around and stumbled across a shoe, you'd probably think, all right, this is just some random piece of whatever,
But what's really interesting about this specifically is while we were out there searching, we found a lot of animal bones. We found full deer skeletons, cows, hogs. We found a lot of animal debris. But for the first 5-6 hours, we didn't find any sort of debris left behind by humans. There was not really any trash. There was not, you think hunting land, okay, someone threw some beer bottles out, or maybe someone's glove got lost or something along those lines. We found nothing like that for the first many hours of our search.
Right. It wasn't really until we kind of moved more towards the central part of the property where, people who hunt out there leak, accidentally drop trash, that we actually began to encounter signs of human activity. But no, you're right. And even to this day, you'll come across animal carcasses all the time. Now, one thing, now I know, you were there when we went back, and the cadaver dog got into a fight with the wild hog. There are lots of wild hogs in this property. Yep, that's the dog that.
That's Finn.
Yeah, that's Fenris. That little dog right there, ladies and gentlemen, will fight a wild hog and win. We know that much. It took us It took you guys 5 or 10 minutes to get Finn to turn that hog loose.
But,
it was crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, Melissa. You were there.
Chris and I flew out
for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't really until, so we were getting tired. I mean, we had been out all day. It was cold. We're like, okay, let's search this one more kind of offset piece of land. It wasn't as bad of terrain. It was almost like grass in a lot of spots, which was nice compared to everything else, the mesquite trees that we were dealing with. And we were like, okay, let's search this one more area and we're gonna pack it up and go. I mean, you also have to remember we're out there all day. There was 3 females, so obviously we didn't use the bathroom all day. Like, it was a very long day. So we go over and search this one last area, and by then you're already feeling kind of defeated, like, okay, well, this was good. I'm glad we got this area of land crossed off the list of, we know he's not here. But then it was like out of nowhere that Chris, my husband, saw something white in the distance, and he's like, and remember, Whitney said we had not seen anything remotely human, like trash or anything like that before. So he sees it and he's just like, what is that? Runs over there, and that's that was the shirt, if I believe correctly.
Shorts. We didn't find shorts.
It was the shorts, which Brandon was wearing, like a camo MMA style, kind of like basketball shorts, like gym shorts. But these were all white. And so we were like, what is this? And then we kind of realized from the sun after 8 years, it kind of bleached it. And if we kind of took a stick and was able to see inside, like on the bottom side, and realized they were those camo shorts. Of course, at that moment, we're all freaking out. Like, this is absolutely insane that we stumbled upon this.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. I want to pause here real quick though, because we have had a few questions about like the location and the searches. So let's clarify some things because I know people are asking. One of the questions we get the most is, where is this property in relation to where the truck was? And this has been the most surprising element, I think, that everyone has asked us, Melissa and I at least. And the items we found were less than a mile as the crow flies from his vehicle, which seems incredibly close, but given the terrain, it's not that easy in a straight line.
Right. So I measured it out online, and the total distance from the pickup to the clothing was 0.97 miles. I just go ahead and call it a mile. You might as well just round it up. So it was a mile. Now, I'm not going to give away the actual location of the property just because I'm going to protect the landowner's privacy rights. For the most part, everybody in the Facebook community and the online community are great people, but you do have your handful of wackos that will do some very crazy things, and I'm just going to protect this landowner.
Yeah. There was also a question that says there was a search on land that the owner ran them off. That was not this land. Again, to clarify, this has never been searched before. It has been flown over with the helicopter and drones, correct?
No, not drones by
not
me.
Drones. Not drones by you, correct. Not drones. Okay. Just the helicopter search was done over this general area.
4
but
days
not,
after Brandon went missing. After he was laying in the Texas heat for 4 days. And I think that's probably why he was not discovered in the flyover. I mean, if you go back and you look at the statements that Coke County was making at the time, you could tell they were looking for an intact body. And I mean, August in Texas is hot and it's humid. Heat and humidity advance the decomposition process significantly. They speed it up. And so, I mean, I don't like getting graphic just because I know Brandon's family is probably watching this or they will watch it. So I try to be, I don't like putting images in their head. They've already imagined enough crap over the last 12 years. But just to answer, to accurately explain, I think that the sheriff's office was looking for an intact body that had probably already significantly began the decomposition process. Not to mention, there are wild hogs on this property, and then there's coyotes and other animals. So, yeah, I think that's exactly why they didn't find him in the flyover.
predation is a pretty big thing in Texas, especially in August. They're all looking for sustenance. Yeah. So a lot of the questions were, do you think that it's feasible that Brandon could have run from the road where his vehicle was to where he was found? I mean, physically, is it possible? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think what most likely happened is animals scattered that clothing to where we found it. I'm sure, I mean, you guys both know by now, we went back out in February and we actually found Brandon's cell phone. And I think the phone, I mean, there's only two options for how that phone got there. Brandon either dropped it while he was running that night, or that the location of that phone was very close to where, again, not to sound too graphic, but Brandon ceased movement.
So, because we weren't there on that search, how far was the phone from where the clothing was?
I'm not the best judge. It was probably around 200 to 250 feet, give or take.
So let's go back to the day we discovered things. I know we're bouncing all over the place. So I'm sorry if y'all have questions, please keep them in the comments. We will get to them. We want to make sure that the truth is out there from what we know that is fact versus what is misinformation. When Melissa's husband, Chris, found the shorts, within not even 30 seconds, someone else on the search team mentioned they had found the sole of a shoe. And we knew exactly what Brandon was wearing when he left the house that evening. He was wearing white Nike Air Max tennis shoes. And that was the sole that was found, was a white Nike Air Max. And it very clearly said Air Max on the bottom of the sole. And this was, I mean, again, I'm not good at distance either, Jason, so sorry. But it was close enough that we were still in line. And at one end of the line, we had the shorts. And at the other end of the line, we had the shoe. So 9 people spread apart 20 yards, maybe?
I mean,
maybe?
You I was right next to the lady that found the sole of the shoe, and you could have hit me with a rock where you were standing with those shorts, no problem.
Right. And then a few more steps were taken, and we found the shoe portion that would attach to the sole of the shoe. But after being out in the elements for 8.5 years, I mean, things degrade.
And then we found the other shoe.
Well, immediately we kind of stopped searching. Jason called the other PI, rest in peace, Lou Berry, but we called for verification on what needed to be done at this point. Do we stop? Do we drop a pin on our phones? What are we supposed to do in this situation? Because honestly, I know that Melissa, Chris, and I were not prepared for what we needed to do if something was actually found from there. And I feel like the adrenaline and stuff kicked in for you. And you also were like kind of pinging a little bit of like, what do we do now? What do we do now? And so we all kind of had to ground ourselves for a moment of, okay, everyone take a deep breath. This is a big thing.
I don't know how it felt for you two, but have you ever heard somebody describe a moment that just time seems to just slow down? For me, it was the exact opposite. Everything started speeding up. And that's crazy. But so we all kind of had the deer in headlights there for a second. And I knew if anybody knew what to do, it was going to be Lou. He was a retired police chief. If he didn't know, nobody knew. But no, so I had some difficulty actually because out there, I mean, you guys know how it is to try to run your phone when you got the sunlight hitting. You can't see a freaking thing unless your screen's just ultra bright. So I've probably fumbled with my phone for 2 minutes trying to see Lou's number to call him. But yeah, once I got a hold of him, he immediately said, "Look, you guys got to get out of there because even if it's not a crime scene, it's still at the very least a death investigation, and you guys don't need to be running around because you don't know what else is in the area. You don't know what kind of forensic evidence is in the area. I know you guys want to keep going and find more, but you got to get out of there." And that's what we did.
Yeah. But while this conversation is happening, the rest of us are still looking around. Natural curiosity. We didn't all know to stop. And we were, again, like Jason said, we were all kind of hyped up. Adrenaline was kicking in. And the other shoe was found, again, less than 20 yards from the first shoe and the shorts. It all happened very, very quickly. But we dropped pins on our maps and waited for law enforcement and did what we were supposed to do. It was just, it's incredible that we had all kind of just decided we're going to skip lunch, do this last little bit because we're running out of daylight. It's January. It like gets dark at like 2 p.m., in January. So we knew we had to do as much as we could in as little time as we had. And we just waited. That was the longest wait, I think, of my life.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed, I don't know how long it was. Once we got back to the vehicles and are waiting for, I believe we were waiting for the sheriff's deputy and then eventually the Texas Rangers. It felt like forever. We didn't want to leave because obviously we wanted to talk to them. I mean, well, we all couldn't leave anyways, but Whit and I had to pee like crazy. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, you girls can't exactly handle business the way us guys can. So
not in 50-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, Melissa and I, we're not above going behind a tree, but when there's 50-mile-an-hour winds, it creates complications. Okay, we can't just always turn down wind like men.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. So
yeah, the deputy eventually got there, and this is crazy to me. The same deputy that came out for Brandon the night he went missing was the deputy that came out that day. That was wild. He also doesn't love podcasters. So Whit and I did not.
You guys were already on his crap list before you met him.
well, we didn't tell him, of course. We were
No, it's
like,
all good.
yeah, he like lumped us in, I mean, with psychics and all of that. Like, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
Hey, I'm working on this. I've met some pretty crazy folks.
And I'm like, who found Brandon's stuff and who did not? Oh, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that's another thing that keeps getting kind of misstrewn, is that we found everything. That's not
Oh.
true. We found the clothing. A
Exactly.
subsequent search 2.5 weeks later by the Texas Rangers and Coke County Sheriffs found the remains. Our team did not find the remains.
Yeah, I don't think
Correct.
we would have been able to, with the amount of bones out there from animals. Every bone I was thinking was human. I mean, honestly, I've never seen that many human or that many animal bones. Yeah. And did they bring dogs out, Jason? Do you know when they went out?
According to their report, when they came back out, they did have dogs, and the dogs did not find the remains.
Really?
Yeah. No, it was one of their officers happened to be looking inside one of those cactus bushes and found the remains. Speaking of which, that'll bring me to another clarification point. One thing people, especially these, on Reddit, and it was put out by a podcaster, and I understand why they got it wrong. But one misconception is that these remains were fragments. No. When Mr. Lawson called me the night that the remains were discovered, he told me that it was a partial skull, no teeth. And when I relayed that to the podcaster, I think he interpreted it as pieces of bone, fragments, and then other people got a hold of it and ran with it. So there's this big misconception out there that Brandon's skull was found in fragments. That's not true. That's not right. What was found was actually the entire top portion of the skull. It's called the skull cap. That's what was found. People don't want to take my word for it. So here you go again, straight from Deputies Neal's report. Skull cap. That's what they found.
I also want to point out the reason it took them so long to get out to search after our team was out there is because this was COVID. Remember, they actually had a member of their force pass away due to complications from COVID and just general scheduling. Like, it takes time to put those together. And I think that the thing we've learned most within this case is patience. We've had to have so much patience.
Well,
Absolutely, especially the family.
Yeah. The one reason it took them so long to come back out was because the ranger that was in charge, Todd Reed, he really wanted to get a good group of forensic people out there. And that takes them time to gather because, they're the Texas Rangers. They're working on a dozen cases at once. And so it takes them some time. They got to pull people off this case. They got to pull people off that case. They got to bring these people in. And so that takes them a little while to get it together. And that's why it took them so long to go back out. We found the clothing on January 15th. They went back out February 1st, which I know that was agonizing for Brandon's family because they were like, look, we got this. You guys got to get out there. And even I was like, dude, they need to hurry up and get back out there. But that's why it took them so long. That and like you said, they had somebody. It was a ranger that passed away, so that they all kind of halted for that too.
Yeah, it was an interest. Like, it's people ask us all the time, and actually, there's one of the questions here that says, "Giving an answer to so many questions is amazing. I know they are so thankful. How did it feel, and how do you deal with knowing that you gave them that finality that their loved one was gone?" This is a question that I know Melissa and I get asked a lot. How did that feel? How are you handling that? And it was you're welcome to share. We get that question a lot.
Well, you guys know that was after we got done with everything and we got off the property. Having that phone call to Odessa was, man. Yeah, well, you two were both there. That was probably one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. And, you know, I try to handle it professionally, but I mean, you guys were there. We were all feeling the emotions, even me. I mean, I'm not made of stone. That was that, you know, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I mean, you guys know I put years of my life into this case. And so it was weighing on me, but to be able to make that phone call to them, it's like you're not happy to make it, but you're glad you're able to make it. Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense to us. Like I don't even know how to explain it, because Ledessa was wanting to be there that search with us, but then some things happened and she couldn't come. So us having to call her, and we did it all together. And we actually went to the location where the cross is on the side of the road where the truck was found. You're right. Like you're not happy to make it, but it's almost like you're relieved that you can give her something that she has been wanting to, but it was also devastating all at the same time. So yeah, there's just not words.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're riding this adrenaline high. So like your heart's beating, your heart's hurting, you're crying, you're trying to like just breathe through this conversation, hold on to one another, because again, happy, sad, relieved because you can give them something. It's just, there's no words. And I hope that no one ever has to feel that. I hope that no family ever has to go through this or wait with a bated breath for every phone call that comes through to be some sort of information. I just can't imagine what that feeling on the other side of that phone call was.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit, as a 40-year-old man, I was crying. I mean,
Most definitely.
but I mean, we all heard. I think I can't remember if I had it on speakerphone or not. I don't even remember, but
You did.
yeah, she was very emotional.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, for a split second, she got pissed because she was like, I told those because he was out there. And yeah, so there was a lot of emotion for her, and having to call Brandon's parents was very hard too.
Yeah, yeah. As a mother, like I get it. That would be horrific, but elating all at the same time.
Yeah, and then you go for almost 3 years battle waiting for the DNA results to come back. And then you finally get those, and then you go on a 6 to 7 month battle to get them to turn his remains over. And now, I mean, I don't know how much you guys have talked to Ledessa. The fight's still not over, if you can believe that. Ledessa's having a problem now. She's given the remains and everything to the funeral home for them to cremate him, but the funeral director cannot act until he gets the death certificate from Coke County. And now the judge in Coke County, she's having to battle it out with them. He says he signed it and sent it in, but the funeral home's not getting it. So now Ledessa's still in limbo. And it's like, how much, I try not to cuss anymore, but this isn't bullshit anymore. It's bull screaming shit.
Exactly.
Give the family everything they need to finally at least close part of the chapter. You know what I mean? And they still can't fully do it. You know, they've had a memorial for him and everything. So I don't know how Ledessa hasn't gone crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, she's had to put up with so freaking much.
And I know
Right.
that they just want a place that they can all go visit Brandon and grieve for him, and just like have his kids, they want to be able to have a place where that they can go see him. And they're not getting it, and it sucks.
Yeah. Now that we found the cell phone, I mean, the Rangers sent it off for forensic analysis, but I'm praying to God that doesn't take years. I mean, I don't know if they can get anything off of it or not. I mean, it was laying out there for 12 years. I mean, it was pretty much in the same condition as everything else that had been found. It was heavily deteriorated. The sun had just done its damage. The battery had gotten hot and kind of exploded out the back casing a little bit. But I mean, I guess if the rest of the circuitry and the SIM card's intact, maybe they can do something with it. That's I think that's another thing that we're going to be kind of waiting on to see where it takes things. It'll all depend on what that forensic analysis shows. I mean, maybe it'll show he was perhaps communicating with someone on a third-party app that wouldn't show up in the cell phone records. I mean, it's just one of the things we're not going to know until after the forensic analysis is done.
Is this something that the death certificate or the medical examiner is waiting for the death certificate? Is she waiting for like cause of death? Or like, what's the holdup with that situation?
The judge has to sign off on the death certificate in order for the funeral director to be able to cremate the remains.
And he just won't do it right now.
He said that the judge has said he did it and he sent it to the state, but the funeral director is saying, I haven't got anything. So now poor Brandon's remains are sitting on a shelf at the funeral home waiting to be taken care of. And I don't know if things in West Texas just move more slowly than they do here, where we have all these major metropolitan areas. I'm not trying to bash anybody, but at the same time, it's like, dude, come on.
We'll just go pick it up.
What the heck, you know?
And drop it off. Like, let's just get this done.
Well, I mean, they gave the remains to the family. The family had them, and gave them to the funeral home so they can, handle it. But the funeral home can't do anything.
Can't do it.
So it's just like, geez, one freaking hurdle after another, and it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not. I mean, it went on for 8.5 years to begin with. That was already too long. And again, I'm not blaming anybody down there. But okay, look, all this happened. We can't change the past. Everybody understands that, but we can shape how this plays out, and this needs to play out in an expedited manner. These people have waited long enough.
Exactly.
They always say the wheels of justice move slowly, but it's not just justice wheels that move slowly. It's many factors of that. Like you said, he was missing for 8.5 years before we found the evidence, his clothing. Then 2 more weeks till they found the remains. Then they were shipped off to get DNA confirmation. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is the length of time DNA can take. I remember people constantly posting on Brandon's page of, okay, they announced that they found something. When are we going to get results? When are they going to find out? When are they going to know? And, like the family, like you said, the family is the one that's sitting by the phone, waiting every single second of every single day, waiting for that final confirmation that what was found was Brandon. We didn't find Brandon. What law enforcement found was, in fact, Brandon. And that took 3 years. And what people don't realize is that it was being worked on this whole time. It had to go to one location in Texas for testing, and remember that things were out there for 8.5 years. The way DNA works is it degrades over time, just like all biological materials. So it wasn't an easy match for them to make. And when one lab couldn't do it, they had to ship it to another lab. And then that other lab had to test it a couple of times. Those machines are incredibly expensive to operate. So they don't just run it every Tuesday or, run it all the time around the clock. You have to wait till the machine can be filled fully to run. And the steps in which matching all of the data, it's a long, long process.
Not to mention,
especially in cold cases.
Yeah. And if you have other cases that are fresh coming in, that sometimes they take precedent over, the cold case you're working. I'm sure that laboratory was running all kinds of forensic tests for all kinds of different cases. And, when it came to Brandon's case, they were, they weren't running that DNA to catch a bad guy or process, part of the scene. That DNA analysis was strictly being done for identification process. So, I mean, if you had a murder case come in to that lab that had to be run to ID a suspect or process a rape case or something like that, I'm sure Brandon's case got set to the side. And I mean, it's an unfortunate thing, but that happens. And not to mention at that time, there was already, like you said, a backlog from COVID. So they were trying to catch up. And that's one reason it took so long to get that done. And I can't imagine what that was like for Brandon's family. That had to be just effing brutal.
I also want to point out that you see some cases, like someone mentioned that Molly and Colt, who were missing for 12 and a half years, they were identified fairly quickly. There's a lot of factors that go into identification. It's the quality of, the quality of the remains, whether they can get a good sample or not, what they have to compare it to, what resources the local law enforcement agency has to provide these DNA testing, because it goes back onto law enforcement to pay that bill, essentially. And your taxpayer dollars have to pay that. What kind of budget does that local law enforcement have? Do they have a big DNA budget? And in Bront, in Coke County, they are all tiny towns. There's lack of funding, lack of resources, honestly, lack of procedural training, because it's a small town. So that could have hindered the testing as well.
I mean, look at their 911 system at the time. It wasn't even they went to all calls after office hours went to a nursing home, for heaven's sakes. And they were answered by a CNA. They weren't even answered by a heavily trained dispatcher. And that shocks a lot of people. But out there in West Texas, where you have these small rural counties, that didn't surprise me. I mean, now they're up to code. All the 911 calls out there now are routed to Tom Green County, which is a much bigger populace. So they do have dedicated dispatchers. But at the time, that county was so small and so underfunded that all 911 calls went to a nursing home after hours.
I didn't know that was a thing until
I didn't either. I had never heard
about Brandon's story.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah. And
I'm a firm believer that Brandon's story is why that changed.
I can tell you that's why it changed. I think I remember Ladessa saying they did like some sort of internal audit review thing, and they're like, hey, we're not up to code. So yeah. A lot of people see things in black and white, one thing opposed to the other. But when you're looking at cases and, whether it's missing person cases or murder cases or whatever, there's this kind of huge area in between. Brandon went missing and stayed missing, not necessarily because one thing versus another, as it was a culmination of factors. And I mean, it sucks, but he went missing in a rural county with 5 cops at the time, not all of them on duty at the same time, because guys got to have a day off, right? Their resources were so limited, they had to call in help from the Rangers. And don't get me wrong, the Rangers are a great organization, but I mean, they only have so much. And when you go missing in a very rural area, and the landowner doesn't live there, it's all of these things adding up. And I mean, I cannot explain why they didn't search this property. That's only a question they can answer. I don't know if maybe they felt he couldn't have got that far. I don't know. And I'm not trying to make excuses for them. I mean, like I said, that's something only they can answer. But I can tell you that had they searched this property, they probably would have found something. I mean, look, we found something on the first try of that property. And then, I mean, it took us 3 more tries to go back and a couple years in between to find the cell phone, but it was there. And I'm not trying to bash them, but there are some things about what they did that even don't make sense to me. But it's incredibly heartbreaking that this went the way it did.
Whit and I have worked with, 100 families at this point. And I mean, Brandon's case was the first. Brandon's family is the first one we worked with. And you would be surprised, like if you were an adult that goes missing, they don't really search for you. Like unless there is evidence of foul play,
Yeah,
you are allowed to go wherever you want and meet your family, even if it is completely out of character and you would never do anything like that. They don't always look for you, and it's insane. And Whitney and I have had hundreds of conversations about like, why would they just not go look? But it's just not a part of all the protocols. Like it sucks. Like
yeah.
I definitely think it should be different, but that's just the way it is.
And I think they did form an unfair bias against Brandon.
Agreed.
Based on some, look, we've all got things that we're not proud of, myself included. Every human does. And if any human says, I don't, they're probably lying to you. But it's not fair that we're judged sometimes on our mistakes don't define us, you know. Okay, so he had some struggles that he dealt with. That doesn't mean we just write him off. I mean, I've told the story before. He stuck up for me a couple of times when I was getting picked on by upperclassmen. He didn't care that I was a goofy kid with glasses and a haircut that we're not going to talk about. But, you know, he didn't care what my circumstances were. I wasn't going to care what his were, you know. This is one thing I really, really want to hammer home about Brandon. And I didn't know him outside of school. But that dude would give you the shirt off his back. He really would. You know, I saw him do it on several occasions. There was a story where he stopped to help an old lady change a tire because he didn't want, I mean, she was an elderly lady. He wasn't going to leave her on the side of the road like that, you know. He was always there for his brother and, you know, his siblings and his parents. It breaks my heart that people get treated like that. You know, we're all human. No human is any more or less valuable than the next. And, you know, I know you guys have taken what you've learned from this case and you're going to help other people. And I'm doing the same thing. I mean, Jason Landry's a perfect example. I've taken what I've learned about searching and investigating and applied that to Jason Landry. And I think that's one of the ways we carry on Brandon's legacy is we conduct ourselves in caring for other humans the same way he did.
Absolutely. There's a couple of things that have jumped up in here that we've already kind of addressed, but I'll double down in case you missed it early on.
If you guys want to take some questions I'm happy to answer what I can. Bear in mind though, this, especially with the discovery of this cell phone, law enforcement is probably working on some things. So there will be some things that I choose to say, hey, I can't answer that right now. But
so please ask questions.
Yeah.
We want to debunk all of the misinformation that's out there about Brandon. He's very special to us and will always be. Is someone they said, I don't understand how none of his clothing or remains weren't found sooner with the first couple of searches. I just want to reiterate, this land had never been searched before. We do not know why law enforcement did not reach out to those landowners, and those landowners had no clue that someone was missing near their property. Or they've been, from what I understand with Jason's working with them, they've been incredibly receptive. Absolutely. Go do what you need to do. Find your loved one. Once they learned of this situation, they have been amazing. So it was not on the landowners. It was not on, I wouldn't even put it on law enforcement because honestly, the land could have changed hands a few times. This has been over 12 years, you know? I mean, I don't think it has, but.
Slightly disagree. I think they probably, I mean, when you have a person that goes missing under circumstances like this, you typically find the subject within a mile to a mile and a half. And law enforcement did not search that full mile and a half. Now, why they, again, I'm not here to throw mud in their face. But had they followed those statistics, I think they probably would have made the discovery. But I mean, I don't want to come out here and be too hard on them. But right. I mean,
well, I would lean back on the caveat that this is a small town. under-resourced, under-trained. They don't have missing persons weekly, yearly, monthly out there in Branch, Texas. They don't know what protocol to follow. They probably don't know these statistics. So giving them the benefit of the doubt, they did not know. Should they have tried harder? Should they have looked into that? Probably, but we can't hold them accountable for things they don't know.
That and the people who are in charge of Brandon's case now are not the same people that was in charge of it in 2013. Yes. It still falls under the jurisdiction of Coke County, but it's not the same sheriff. It's not even the same ranger. So, I think in the interest of fairness, we should give these new people at least a chance to do their work and see what they do. And hopefully it goes a lot better this time. But the judge down there in Coke County, I hope he does get the funeral home what they need. Come on, quickly, and give the family their final closure. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, it's fine.
No. If we weren't live, we would be going up on a tangent.
There would be so many tangents. There'd be so many. This one I just want to put up here because this is true. Melissa and I never had the honor of meeting Brandon, but everything we know about him since becoming a part of the Help Find Brandon Lawson movement, I would say this without a doubt. He had a heart of gold.
Everybody that I've talked
at his smile and tell like the pictures of him and his big smile. That's
kind of the Lawson smile. They all have that same big bright smile. His sister, his dad, his mom,
his kids, they all got it.
Yeah. Brandon definitely passed the genes of his smile.
Yes.
This is a good question, and I don't know that we have an answer for it because every family we have worked with and every family member we have encountered has a different request for this. So what can we do to help move things along or help Ladessa and the Lawsons?
Keep praying that the judge gets this done, and don't let, especially now that we're kind of waiting on this forensic analysis of the cell phone. I know a lot of people feel that in a lot of ways the case is closed, and I understand that. I kind of, after we did Brandon's memorial, I kind of felt that, hey, I'm kind of done unless the family needs something else. But with the discovery of the cell phone and some of the follow-up searches, I think we still need to let people know that, hey, this happened,
Yeah. Agreed. Keep supporting them. Keep following the pages. Keep sharing the posts they're asking you to share.
Right. Absolutely.
Keep Brandon's spirit alive. Talk about him. Melissa and I talk about him all the time.
Same here. I think about the case. I think about everything on almost a daily basis. Still to this day. It's been
it's definitely shaped Whit and I's journey. We're now 6 years into podcasting, and we have a conference and a nonprofit, all to help the families of the missing and murdered. And so I don't think without meeting you, Jason, and going out on that search that this is the path we would have taken. It definitely changed how we believe in things and do things. So
absolutely, I don't beat people over the head with my beliefs or a Bible, but I'm not ashamed to say it, and I'm not trying to shove it down anybody's throat. But I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, and I believe there was a plan for this the entire time, and the plan that He had played out. I know a lot of people may not feel that way, especially, given the circumstances of what happened. I get it, but there's something much bigger than all of us. And sometimes we just got to go with what that plan is and God's telling us to do. I think I've said this to you guys, I've said this 1,000 times. If you'd have come up to me on August 1st of 2013 and said, 12 years from now, you're going to be a licensed private investigator because a guy you went to high school went missing and you chased after helping the family, trying to find him for years, I would have thought you were nuts.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God's got a plan and he's got his hand in it, and here we all are. And this is, I'm not going to speak for you guys, but this is my purpose in life. I fully believe that.
100%.
Aside from my wife and my kids, this is.
I was made for this, and it's wild to think about because 6-7 years ago, we were doing something completely different.
I was
we were
at a manufacturing plant that builds oil pumps. That's all it was before this.
Yeah. We got another question.
Yeah, I think, what do you want to go to about 8:30-ish before we say, hey, that's enough?
Yeah, that's fine. So we got a few more minutes, or if those questions dwindle out, whatever we need to do.
Well, I know 8:30 people got kids. They're probably like, I'm getting tired, and I don't blame them.
I've already had to text mine 3 times to quit yelling upstairs. We're Fortnite crazy upstairs. Do you feel that they will ever be able to determine what happened to Brandon that night based on the clothing found or possibly the phone, if they're able to retrieve anything?
Potentially, yes, depending on what they're able to retrieve from the phone or if somebody with additional information comes forward. Yeah, that possibility is definitely there. Sure. You bet. And I'm here to investigate anything that Ledessa wants to send my way or wants me to work on or that I come across. I'm always just a phone call away.
Yeah, the door's never closed for leads, tips, potential answers in relation to that. Absolutely. I think that there's still information to be learned from Brandon.
Oh, absolutely. Every time we even go back out and do a follow-up search, we learn things. I've learned a lot about the wildlife on that property and perhaps an explanation as to why we haven't found additional remains or the wallet. I think his keys are probably somewhere still there. Mm-hmm. But you guys saw all that cactus. If those keys are inside one of those cactus bushes, we had a metal detector when we went back a few weeks ago, and we were just tearing things apart with that metal detector trying to find them. But there's so much cactus out there, it's going to take a while for us to go through it.
And I definitely think with today's technology and everything, it's getting harder and harder to commit any type of crimes and not get caught.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You never know what information, like they were saying, can come out in the next couple of years with the cell phone. At least, if that can give us a clue, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So while we wait for more questions to come in, because I think we've answered all of them so far, are there any items we want to absolutely debunk that we haven't already covered?
I kind of addressed the main ones that I felt were getting passed around the most as far as misinformation goes. Trying to think if there's anything else. I never think about it in the heat of the moment. I'll think about it after.
I know. I just texted Whitney, but I can't remember the YouTuber's name, and I can't remember what he said. I know he said something.
I have a feeling, and again, I'm not going to put people's names.
No, I'm not going to say a name or anything.
One major one covered Brandon's case, and there's some stuff going on in the comments that, I'll just be fully honest, pissed me off. And that's another reason I wanted to do this, was to kind of, shut that down, because that's not accurate. I tell you what, one thing I know I see quite a bit is, could this evidence have been planted there? I think that's highly unlikely, for a couple of reasons. One, the condition it was in. Again, you guys saw it. That stuff was heavily deteriorated. It's not consistent with being kept somewhere else or even buried in a hole somewhere. It would have the condition of it would have been completely different. I mean, everything was bleached by the sun. The sun had, done its damage to these things. The shoe had become so dried out in the sun bleach that it separated. I mean, you guys saw the shorts. They were so faded from being out in the sun. The cell phone was the same way. It was, you could tell it had been in the sun for years. The deputy that came and collected the cell phone, as soon as he saw it, he said, "Oh yeah, this has been here for a long time." Again, that's also the reason that the remains took so long to ID, is because the sun had damaged them.
So this is one, and we kind of talked about that. We played the 911 call at the beginning, and we talked a little bit about it. This person asked, do they know who said yes in the 911 call when they asked, do you need an ambulance? So there is no confirmation that someone else was there with Brandon that said yes. This is all goes back to this being a 911 call that's been interpreted. I call it the 911 call heard around the world, because everyone seems to have an opinion about this, about what is heard, what isn't heard, what it could be, what it can't be. So we do not know that there was another person there with Brandon. There's no evidence of it for sure. We might not ever know.
Right. And I have my own opinion on it. And again, it's just my opinion. It may not be how Brandon's family feels or anything like that. I have always felt that this was Brandon holding the phone in front of him on speaker and him turning and going, yes, no, I need the cops. I mean, even you could probably pick on it, just me, just now, the way I turned my head, how the audio completely, that's what I think is going on. But again, that's just my opinion.
Or he puts the phone down, or, there's so many variables.
We really, in order to, you need something that confirms, yes, somebody else was in fact there. You need a witness that passes by the scene that says, hey, I saw this other car. Or you need some sort of physical evidence, which I don't think we're going to get after this amount of time. There were no footprints that were found in the dirt. You need more information. You need more evidence to bolster that, especially in a court of law. I mean, if you're going to go into a court of law and say, there was somebody else there, I mean, you have to have some sort of supporting evidence other than just the call itself. Now, that doesn't mean that, Brandon's lying or anything like that. It just, I mean, if you're going to take and prosecute this, you've got to have supporting evidence. And as of right now, I don't think we have that.
You were going to say something before that, Melissa. Sorry. Do you remember?
Oh, yes. So I was going to say, a lot of people think that there's a gunshot or something heard in the background in a distance. And Whit and I, as we went out there the very first time, not too far, there's kind of a bridge that goes over. It's a river, but it's really like a creek. It's kind of small.
Yeah.
And so we went under there, and as a vehicle passes over that, you kind of hear this loud kind of sound that sounds like it could be a gunshot. So we're so in our opinion, that's what that sound could be. And we do know that there was a big rig,
a semi driver,
that went over, and he's actually the one that made the second 911 call. And I believe someone in the comments had mentioned about the second 911 call. And that was about once the semi driver got up to the gas station. He went into the gas station and was telling the clerk, hey, there's this truck that's kind of parked a little bit in the way, and I had to swerve to get around it. So they actually called the police as well to notify them that there was this truck there. In our opinion, it really wasn't a gunshot. It could have just been that semi going over that bridge.
Yeah. The clerk actually told because this is a small community, they're all looking out for each other. The population of the town's 1,000 people, and they all know each other for the most part. So yeah, the clerk actually told the trucker, hey, why don't you call the sheriff's office and let them know it's down there so that nobody comes along in the middle of the night and hits it, because it's very dark on that road.
And that's actually the deputy that went to Brandon's truck. That call is what got the deputy to Brandon's pickup, as opposed to Brandon's call. Brandon's call sent a deputy on kind of a wild goose chase because they didn't know where they were going. Again, the 911 calls misinterpreted a million different ways. Did he say north of Brunt, on the north side of the highway? There's so many different variations. The 911, the receptionist at the nursing home was not trained in 911 dispatch. She didn't know the proper questions to ask to clarify that. So that truck driver is what got the deputy to Brandon's pickup that evening.
Yes. And I'm actually glad you brought that up. I've tried to address that a little bit in the past, but I'll go ahead and address it again because I know not everybody on Brandon's page listens to the podcast and stuff like that. That's another reason I wanted to do this live, because it will save to Brandon's page and people can go back and watch it. But the dispatcher and, at the nursing home, she did not just write Brandon off. She did contact the sheriff's department. Matter of fact, the call is actually pinned on the Facebook page so that people can go back and listen. Ledessa really did want to clarify that because she understands that, look, it's not the lady at the nursing home's fault. She did try. And she doesn't want to see innocent people, attacked and thrown under the bus. So, and I really want to commend her for doing that because she wanted to make sure that people knew that it wasn't the nursing home's, fault. But when she contacted the sheriff's office, they did send a deputy in response to Brandon's call, but he went north because the only thing that you could really clearly hear as far as geographic location was Abilene. So they sent that deputy north because they thought he had already gone through Brunt and was headed towards Abilene. So, but yes, an officer was dispatched because of Brandon's 911 call. Yes.
Yep. I also want to point out that there's other members of our search team in the comments. Dylan hopped on here a little bit ago and said hello. So did Ryan. We also have Crystal here, Crystal Fields. She is the leader of Texas Canine Search Team. We call her Red. She has red hair like me. Love her. She has brought the dogs out on multiple occasions out to help us continue search for Brandon. If there's ever a nonprofit that I'm not a part of that I can promote, it's Red's. If you want to donate to any sort of nonprofit, Texas Canines.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm glad you brought that up. For the listening audience, Team Texas Canines, go to their page. They're on Facebook. All you even have to Google is Team Texas Canines. Donate to that nonprofit if you can. Red is so awesome. I know, Whitney, you've been out and you've helped flank some of Red's dogs. Watching that whole process of how those dogs work is just so freaking phenomenal. And Red does so good with these animals, and these animals work really hard, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot overstate that. And Red works on a lot of cases.
Lots.
She has been all over Texas. She's been to Louisiana, Oklahoma, I think
Alaska.
I did. I never did. I meant to ask her if she ended up going or not. I don't know if she did or she's planning to. But I know at one point they were raising funds to go to Alaska. So yeah, folks, Team Texas Canines, check them out. Donate to them if you can. It's just an awesome.
And if you can't donate, obviously times are tough. We get it. Follow them, share their story, share them with other people. They're amazing human beings. We understand that times are tough. Not everyone can donate financially, but you can still support in other ways. And yes, I've had the opportunity of working with Red and her teams multiple times, and I'm amazed every single time. It's like a work of art to watch these dogs out there working.
It really is.
It's just truly amazing.
I know every time those dogs come out, those dogs give it 110%. And one thing that really blows me away by these animals is they want to work. I've seen Red's dogs darn near break out of their cage because they want to get on the ground and go to work. So, yeah. I
have seen one of Red's dogs break out of the cage to come find us to work. I've seen it.
I wonder which dog. It's probably Enzy or Regal. I don't know. But yeah, those dogs are those animals are awesome. They really are.
It was Coyote. But yeah. Okay, so here's another one.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's just crazy that he wasn't found sooner because from what I remember, he told his brother that the cops were there. Correct.
Correct. He did say that to his brother. And again, it's one of those perfect storm circumstances that, you know.
Can you give a little bit more information about why he wouldn't come out while the cops were there? Because I know that people are confused by why he was not really into the idea of coming out while cops were there. Maybe clarify that a little bit if you can't.
I really kind of can't, because the only person that knows the answer to that is Brandon. I mean, anything we suggest would be speculation. Could he have been, could something have been going on that he felt threatened by an officer's presence? I mean, we don't know. Could there have been, is it possible there were other people out there that he felt like he feared? Yeah. I mean, again, but it's all speculation. It's one of those things. Like I said, the only person that truly knows is Brandon.
Yeah. They're asking if he had warrants.
He did have an active warrant. That is, it was, and you know, it was for a charge that was years old, and Brandon was actually confused by it when because he had done some time for some other stuff that had happened, and I mean that's public knowledge. But when he went to the truck that he was driving that night, he had bought from a family friend, and he was actually in the process of trying to go and get the title put in his name. And that's when he found out that the warrant existed, and he was really shocked. He was like, he goes, I think I've actually already taken care of this, but he was in the process of saving up for a lawyer to address it. So, but yes, if we're being fully honest, he did have a warrant at the time.
Yeah. And I mean, that would make me not want to come out when law enforcement was there. If I'm trying to figure something out and get answers, don't arrest me while I'm trying to figure it out.
Hey, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
I
got about 5 more minutes. And now,
I don't see.
Are these coming through on your page, or are they coming through on Brandon's page?
I believe most of them are on Brandon's page, cool. But I can tell you that we are going to save this. It should automatically save on his Facebook page, but if it doesn't, I'm going to make sure it gets uploaded to YouTube, and we'll make sure it's linked so that it can be rewatched and people can make sure that they're seeing or getting their questions answered if need be. We'll also release this as an episode on our podcast on Monday. So in case people are interesting, people are inquiring about Brandon, and people are interesting. Yes. But in the event people want to hear all the updates, make sure that they find out what misinformation is out there, and one clarification, we've got it.
Awesome. One thing I do want to state real quick in the closing minutes is, I know a lot of people, kind of look to me as the face of everything that's gone down over the past 4 years as far as the discovery. But one thing I really want people to know is this was you guys, in all honesty. This was the other people that were with me that day. I am not the one that found the shoes. I'm not the one that found the shorts. That was you guys. I mean, yeah, I may have been leading the effort. I may have been organizing the effort, but the thanks really go to Whitney, Melissa, Chris, Dylan, Ryan, Amber, Josh, John. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I don't think I did, but you guys found Brandon. That's the truth.
It was a team effort. We all couldn't have done it without one another.
Right.
And
I want to make sure people are aware of that.
Just like Brandon going missing was like a perfect storm of events. Like, it was so much that had to happen for him to go. It's the same thing for us. Like, so much had to happen that weekend in the perfect sequence for us to find his clothing and eventually law enforcement finding his remains. Like, sometimes things just happen how they're supposed to. And like, I think we were all meant to be out there that weekend.
Absolutely. And I mean, that search almost didn't happen.
I agree.
Again,
it was down to the wire.
It was down to the wire. But
I also think that it's important to point out, Melissa and I have leaned heavily on the word hope in the last few years. This has it takes a lot of that to get this far. Don't ever give it up, because things take time and the right times happen, and there's always going to be answers out there. So if there are other families that are seeking answers, have missing loved ones, have unresolved cases, one, reach out to us, see if we will gladly help you however we can. Two, don't give up hope, because sometimes it takes 8.5 years to find your loved one. Sometimes it takes 40. But know that there are people that'll be there to support you and for you to lean on, to know that you're not in this alone.
Don't give up the belief that it will happen. Once you have the belief, nothing and no one can stop you.
Exactly.
All right. Any other closing thoughts, questions, remarks? I mean, we're wrapping up here.
Yeah, we are wrapping up. I'm old. I like to get in bed by 9:30.
Usually it's earlier than that for me, but for you, I'll stay up.
And it is 9:30 where I live.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're not. I don't know if I think Ladessa was in the chat at one moment.
Okay.
Sis, if you're still in there, is there anything you have that you want us to, reiterate before we hop off? Man, I swear these hour and a half things, they go by so fast.
They do. Whit and I used to do lives like monthly?
Once a week at one point.
Do it once a week. That was wild.
On Thursdays. We were wild and crazy in our younger years.
I was anxious all day about this.
I don't see anything popping in from Ladessa, so I think she might have skedaddled already.
Yeah, the boys are probably swinging from the rafters, or she's having to keep Travis in line.
Thank you, Jason, for joining us. Thank you, everyone that jumped in, asked questions.
I hope this clears some things up for people. If not, they can always, leave a comment. I try to answer comments when I can, when I'm not busy. So I hope this clears some stuff up.
And if you knew Brandon or know something that, law enforcement might not know, it's never too late to do the right thing, I think, is what Savannah Guthrie said this week about her mom. And that's a good one. It's never too late to do the right thing, or to share what you may know.
Yeah. And I am a licensed private investigator. If you aren't comfortable with going to the police, that's okay. You can get a hold of me through jwatts@kgriff.com. That's my PI email. You can message the Help Find Brandon Lawson Facebook page. The tip will get to me. I will see it. So you can remain anonymous if you want.
Yeah. But thank you all for joining us, and I'm going to hit end.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night.